Then last year we went down, we actually went in the museum, we actually see the room and whatnot and take the tour. And that was like, wow. And I say that because when you're younger, you don't appreciate history because you don't have a history of your own. We understand that. But so the point is that I'm looking at a picture of Lou Palmer on the wall. Lou Palmer was a great journalist here in Chicago. And I told Lou years ago, and I interviewed him in I think 96 or something like that. I said, I'm on public access. I'm on YouTube now and Yahoo Video because I heard you as a kid. But we don't have that. I'm not Lou Palmer. I know I'm not Lou Palmer. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying, how do we pass it? How do we pass on the torch? You know, you've been writing for years. You're a teacher. How do we pass on?
We got to do it.
That level of activism. We can't do it the way we did it 40 years ago. But you have to do something. How do we do that, man?
Mark, man, I got into activism accidentally, man. First time, my first brush with it was the March on Washington, '63. I was there.
You were there.
I was there.
Wow.
But I wasn't there for the activism.
You told me you were there chasing women. You told me that before.
Co-eds, man. That's what we were looking for.
You were looking for King. You were looking for co-eds.
Exactly right. And I bumped into the civil rights movement.
Wow.
In essence. Then in '64, which was the first long hot summer riot in Harlem. It was the first long hot summer riot. It was provoked by police brutality. And I was out there singing doo-wops, man, and somebody came down the street and said, they breaking windows on 125th Street, man. And so we ran down to 125th Street, and on the way, before we got there, my cousin got shot in the back.
Damn.
And that was...
Did he make it?
He made it, but it was close. Damn. And it was point blank, man, and it was totally, you know, without any reason whatsoever.
We're almost done, and Pat's going to do a little talk with you.
Okay.
How do we get to days where we're so radical? And it was a different, I know 1968, the 60s was a different era. Now how do we get to, from that era, activism and try to move forward? We had a sense of uplifting the race to the point where we got from the 80s and 90s, we were shooting each other, killing each other. Then we got bourgeois, we moved out of the hood, the whole nine. Man, that's why I say, what's the future? I mean, we went from being sort of, you know, let's power to the people to power to me. And what are we going to go 5 and 10, 20 years from now, man?
You never know, Mark.
Are we going to go, with the point I'm saying, we're going to go in different directions, I know that.
Right.
So what directions are we going to go into?
Because
we're not a monolith. African Americans.
This summer, we were talking about the new civil rights movement, right? Because of Gina, right? It was the largest demonstration of young black people, protest demonstration, really since the civil rights movement.
Right.
If you take out the Million Man March, it was not officially a protest march.
Right.
But yeah, so that was just last summer, man. So we may be in the midst of a revitalization right now and not even realize it. When you're in the midst of it, it's hard to get the understanding of where you are, you know, to get your situation straight because you're, you know, too concerned with everyday kind of.
So whether Barack becomes president or not, you had this thing where our leadership is race neutral for a lot of good reasons sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's good to be race neutral.
Our political leadership.
Our political leadership.
There's other kind of leadership that still
that's what I'm saying, because most of us out here in the hood, if you will, are at or below the poverty line. Mm-hmm. Most of our children are raised by, you know, single family, grandparents, you know, ward of the state, homeless, the whole nine. So a lot of us are doing quite well. I mean, the African Americans, a lot of us are doing quite well. And a lot of us are just paycheck to paycheck. So where is the leadership? We have the Deval Patricks, we have the Adrian Fenty's, we have the Cory Bookers, we have a lot of other people, but where is the leadership for the least of us? Those of us who just trying to make it every day, who don't have a college degree, ain't gonna get no college degree, gonna be working service jobs, $5, $10, $15 an hour for the rest of our life. Where's that leadership coming from?
That leadership has to come from the development of an ideology, man. Unfortunately, the left, that you're talking about left leadership, a leadership that's talking about the equalization of resources, allocation of resources to the least of those. Mm-hmm. That's a left impulse in our political society.
So it's not going to come from the conservative right?
And no, it's not going to come from the conservative right. And that right has an ideological hold on us right now. Yes. And it's up to the left to develop some sort of ideological response to that. That's why everybody's looking at Hugo Chavez in Venezuela right now. Because he's the only one who's challenging capitalism at its ideological core, which is what you have to do. Since the fall of the Berlin Wall, the end of the Cold War, capitalism, free market has had a
free reign. Yeah, free reign.
It's been marching, running amok, man, throughout
unbridled capitalism.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
We call it globalization.
But you don't want to destroy capitalism. You just want to tweak it.
You want to regulate it. You want to make sure that it's not running amok as it is.
And you want to put a bridle on capitalism.
And you want to give people an alternative value system. right now the highest value is profit, because there's no alternative to capitalism. There's no ideological alternative. And if people don't have an alternative to an alternative value system to this notion that profit is the highest value you can aspire to, then we'll continue to have privatization, mercenaries everywhere. Everything is becoming profit-oriented, because why not?
We have private armies in Iraq right now.
Absolutely.
I understand. Right. But it's amazing, because you told me years ago on one of the shows, it blew me away, you said capitalism has no morality. It still rings in my head when you say that capitalism has no morality. So we're for capitalism, but we want some morality in our capitalism. But how do we get that information? You're an intellectual. You're a public intellectual. Most of us out here in the hood, like I said, I showed the people the camera, the hood, before I did the show. We are not smart. We're not well-read. We listen to radio all day. We just trying to, like you told me years ago, most of us are just trying to survive. We're not going to get to the point of self-actualization. We can get to the point, I can listen to Salim Muwakkil all day and be intellectual. How do we get that information, that the brilliance of people like you, to break it down to the level of understanding to the masses out here in the hood?
We got to start young, man. Children have to be socialized to read. It's of course it's a cultural thing we have to do.
Right.
But we can't simply exhort people from the outside. Because if you
can't talk down to them.
Right. You can't, because people don't listen and they don't see any relevance in it. You have to reach people where they are, and the only way you do that, the younger they are, the easier it is to do that. And we have to be more intentional, man, about reaching our young people.
You're right, because when I go to the tough schools, they say, I say, man, don't you worry about grades and all. I don't want to act white, because they have this sense that if you good. We in the hood. They tell me, Mr. Sims, we hood, meaning you're not supposed to get A's and B's. I said, can't you be hood and get A's and B's? Let's talk about that. But so we have. That's where you come in. So that's why I'm so glad about doing the YouTube. But let's give us a closing thought. What can we do for our children, our communities today to really, let's say, if you will, raise the intellect? No matter what our educational level is or going to be, we can raise the intellect. We can become more of a little intellectual like you.
The most important thing to do is to read to your children.